to shoulder on a Miami stage, vying to be their party's choice for 2024. It will be the third time some of them have met this way this election cycle, and the first time the group will be this small, with some candidates failing to qualify for the debate and others dropping out. I'm live now with Democratic consultant Ed Emerson and Republican strategist Tab Berg to talk about what this debate may mean and the state of the Republican Party right now. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
1 month ago today, Israel and Hamas got into their latest conflict, and for most of that time, Congress has not been able to do all that this country's wanted to support our ally in this conflict because there was no Speaker of the House to help the chamber take action to create a greater aid package. America's alliances, foreign policy, the situation with Israel, sure to be something that will be debated. The debate, the first of its kind in partnership with the Republican Jewish coalition. What about the stance of the new speaker refusing to tie Ukraine funding to this other war effort? And how do these presidential candidates thread that needle, Tab?
Well, I think it's going to be really clear that these candidates are all going to stand shoulder to shoulder with Israel and say, look, we need to take action on this. Let's hold the other issues. Let's not conflate all of these other issues together. Let's just stand firm with Israel and help them move forward to stop the terrorist threat that Hamas existentially presents.
All righty, Ed. So how do the candidates kind of thread this needle? Because some people see all of these issues, all of these conflicts, and our aid for them linked.
Well, where the Ukrainians are fighting the Russians for us. They are testing our equipment. They are testing our ground tactics. They are testing our artillery successfully, Javelin rockets, anti-tank weapons. This is a war that the United States doesn't want to get into, and we are going to get into it if we don't start providing more real-time aid for the Ukrainians. This is our fight. This is a fight for democracy. To try to separate the two is the mistake. To try to say that the war in Israel and the war in Ukraine are fundamentally different, it's not. Hamas is a terrorist organization that slaughtered 1,400 Israelis. They need to be taken off of the field. And that's what the Israelis are doing right now. Vladimir Putin and the cozying up of the Republican Party to Vladimir Putin, to this maniac dictator, is a shame and will be looked on very negatively by history as we go forward.
Okay, well, I just mentioned Mike Johnson, the new Speaker of the House, so let's talk about him a little bit more. This is someone the potential new Republican president would have to work with if the GOP, holds the House. Mike Johnson was not a name a lot of people had heard of or someone seen really as overtly angling for this position. Has the Speaker delay and then the selection of Johnson turned any voters off, do you think, from the Republican Party in any way? Do you think, Ed, making it harder for the candidates at all debating tonight?
I think the debate tonight is going to be excellent. I really do. I think that this is the time for these Republican candidates to say no more Trump. And I know that Chris Christie has sort of been out there by himself, swinging an axe, trying to take the guy down a peg. But I think that the fact that these Nikki Haley and Tim Scott, I think the fact that they are all showing up for this debate tonight, they know that Trump is going to fail. The human Hindenburg is going to ignite any minute and come crashing to the ground when he's being indicted didn't hurt. Being convicted might do the damage that we need. But the guy is so capable of blowing himself up. He might get a year in jail for contempt of court, for gosh sakes. It's interesting right now. The debate tonight is going to be worth watching because it'll be interesting to see Nikki Haley try to step out a little bit more. She's doing well. She's got some good polling behind her. Chris Christie has not got the polling, but Nikki Haley is starting to raise a little bit of money, and I think she can set herself out. I think she's the one tonight with the most on the line.
Okay, this debate is really tomorrow in Miami. Tab, do you think that there is any kind of lingering residue from the struggle of not having a speaker now that Johnson is in place and making these kind of decisions, like to only fund Israel with this new aid package and not rope in the other issues that maybe some of his congressional colleagues would like to see? Or do you think this is not impacting voters or turning voters off?
Yeah, I don't think that it's going to have any impact on voters whatsoever. The voters right now are really focused on, are we going to stand with Israel or not? And there is a small group within the Democratic Party that's wagging the dog, that's saying, hey, we need to restrain Israel. We need to to hold off on allowing the IDF to take Hamas out. And I think these Republican candidates are all going to stand absolutely firm on that issue. But I think the bulk of the debate's really going to focus on the economy. Recent polling has just come out that shows that Biden loses to every one of the Republican candidates, be it Trump, Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, or Tim Scott. So I think they're going to be focused on those issues and the economy, where 70% of Americans say the economy is not working for me. And that's what's really going to bring the focus in, I think, for these candidates and for this debate.
Okay, and quickly, gentlemen, before we run out of time, the latest polling, since Tab brought up polling, in these 5 critical states, swing states, Trump is beating President Biden in all of them except for Wisconsin. So where does that leave us in terms of what may happen ahead and kind of how the Republican candidates that will be debating tomorrow in Miami sort of position themselves? I mean, they want to be the one that's at the top of the ticket here, but right now it's still looking like Trump. So is this just the Veeps race right here, Tab?
No, absolutely not. And I think if you look at the polling, it actually showed that every one of the other Republican candidates beat Biden in those same target seats, as well as on the national polling.
Okay.
So I think what they're really vying for is to say, hey, I have a plan. I have a way to get this country back on the right track, restore our international status that's been squandered by this president, and get the economy back on track so that it works for everybody.
Okay, quickly, Ed. So are they just kind of vying for the number 2 position here, trying to shine the most?
Well, I think Trump's going down. I say bring it. A year out, they were asking the question, is Barack Obama toast? He had polls that of a similar nature. A poll a year out doesn't mean a damn thing.
Okay.
And I think that we're going to, we need to make contact. We need to make this a close fight, come in hand-to-hand combat, if you will. And there are more of us than there are crazy Republicans that believe Trump is some sort of answer to some question.
All righty, Ed. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you to both of you for your insight as we lean into this debate tomorrow. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Tab. Thank you, Sincere.